Hello. Can you guys hear me? Can you see me? Let me know in the chat if you can. How's everyone doing? What a day. Yes, Joe, thank you. Perfect. Cheers, Dick. Good to know. What a day of football, eh? Mostly bored. Don't know about you lot watching most of those games, but it's good to have it back, right? Nothing compared to this real thing, though, is it? Nothing compares to the real deal. CM. Give me the likes of Shearer any day. If only I'd have actually had him. Good evening, Ryan. 76 for me this week. I think that's not great overall. I was on my wild card, so probably should have done better. But basically, if I add Shearer into the mix, 18 points on top of that, I've had a really good week if that's the case. So can't complain. Wilcox saved me. FPL Pants, Pep says, totally agree. I got about 6 points from my bench boost, I think. Moving out the likes of Doherty, Ings. You know the story. You're all doing the same thing as me. Every time. Double game weeks, man. 107 for FPL Ronaldo. Jesus Christ. Right. There's quite a lot of news, guys. I shall try to get through it pretty quickly. It will be obviously more quickly because it's just me, but I can't promise that I won't rabble. Interact with the chat as much as you possibly can. I shall try to pick it up where I can. And we'll do the usual. We'll do the review. We'll do the match of the day. We'll then go by team as like a little preview almost, and then I'm going to bring up some odds for the next game week. There's also been some FA Cup replay results that we'll look at as well. And yeah, we'll talk about next week, because next week's going to be a big one. There are lots of FA Cup and League Cup games to be played after this week, if that makes sense. We'll have a look at it in a minute. So let's get stuck into Arsenal Southampton. Thierry Henry captain for me. Cheers, mate. Nice of you to show up. What's to be said about this, really? Arsenal were not great. Southampton, I mean, the clean sheet was pretty much nailed on before the game started, but when I saw that they were starting Rory Delap up top along with Parhas, who isn't really a forward, is he? It was pretty much nailed on from day one, I think. So yeah, not a great game from Arsenal yet again. They dominated the ball as you'd expect. Obviously should have won, but five shots on target, 3 goals. Neil Moss not covered himself in glory there. Lots of 4s and 5s that usually happens if a team gets a spanking. In terms of the statistics, Henry managed 6 passes. He did get 2 shots off target but didn't do much else. So to be honest, apart from his one key header that he won, he's probably lucky to get a 7. Didn't even have many runs or anything either. So a bit shite from him, to be honest. But when they're 2-0 up and cruising, sometimes they'll sub off their star players, and he was 91%, wasn't he? So it was always on the cards potentially. There isn't really anything to say for Southampton. They were just dreadful all over the pitch, as we've come to expect. Yeah, and without a forward, it was never going to be a good showing for them, was it? I think we shall move on from them. Upson played well. That's about it. And he says dickhead Henry. Ticking of an option. I mean, he's okay, but I wouldn't be going there. I mean, it's midfield, right? I mean, I think any single midfielder you name is as good as virtually any other midfielder. So we have to have 5 in there. To be honest, I'm tempted to have 5 4.5s the way it's going at the moment. So I wouldn't write him off totally, but he's not for me personally. Adam says I'd only consider him on a double. I think I agree with that. Charlton and Everton, and my man Wilcox, the saviour. Only about, I think was it 3 points off Shearer in the end, I think, in a single game week. I got very lucky with that. To be honest, if I'd have had Hart last week and Shearer this week, that's an extra 40 points on top of my score that virtually everyone else has. I think I'd be like top 10 with that yet again. Shoulda, woulda, coulda. If my auntie had nuts, etc. So what happened here? Charlton, 6 shots on target, 3 went in. Everton, 4 shots on target. Probably a little bit unlucky, maybe not to score 1. The game was totally 50-50. Steve Simonson's got to be up there for the worst keeper in the league. He's certainly... his 15th handling's not bad, the most important, but all of the other ones that come alongside goalkeeper stats are just dreadful. And he's done this a lot of 5s, 3s, 4s. I think he threw in one super keeper, which they're all prone to do, but didn't cover himself in glory in this one. The Charlton lads were really good, to be honest. Mark Fish winning loads of tackles there. You've also obviously got the headers we've come to accustom from Jensen having his high jumping. Wilcox had 5 key passes. Obviously 3 of them will have been assists. So playmaking from that left wing apparently, and doing a really good job of it. Amongst the most consistent teams in the league, Charlton, in team selection, in playing, in everything. And yeah, I mean, there's not really much to be said for Everton, is there? The usual Weir and Stubbs that can do okay, both got their 8s. And I don't think anyone else is an option. Derby Middlesbrough. This was a bit of a surprise, to be honest. 3-1 to Derby. Doesn't tell the full tale. As you can see here, Derby just 4 shots on target in the game, 6, and they scored with 3 of them. So Crossley's had a nightmare. Middlesbrough have had 8 shots on target from 12. Clearly should have at least got a draw, if not a win out of this. And they had more of the ball as well, 55-45. So pretty unlucky for them. You combine that with Mark Poom clearly having a super keeper on them, and Derby getting a penalty. It just didn't work out for Middlesbrough on the day. So I don't think this is... I know Middlesbrough have been slightly on the decline, and I'm one of the people who's been saying that. But, on paper, I think this was just a really unlucky game for them. Just one of those days, right? In terms of statistics, nothing really particularly stood out. Ravanelli did pretty well up front, winning quite a few headers. No one's really got any Derby players, so I don't want to spend too much time on that. Lescott obviously was pretty dominant here with his 8. Won virtually every exchange. In terms of Middlesbrough, Rickard was pretty good. Boxic didn't do much. And Jonathan Greening, obviously starting on the right hand side here, means that he will have interchanged and gone up front with Rickard a little bit, but obviously he came off on the 46th minute, and Noel Whelan came on, and then eventually Gordon came on for Festa playing a 5. I wouldn't read too much into that. Festa's pretty much nailed when he's available. So the fact that Greening got injured, and we're going to find out how long for soon, I think helps a lot of the Middlesbrough assets. So if you're still on them, I think that they're still going to remain decent options for a little while yet at least. And obviously Ekiog's still there. He's not gone yet. And he's saying, will Boxic ever come good? I think he will. I just think there's, with Veron not particularly being an option at the moment, everyone's got money up top, so why waste one of those slots when you've got Viduka, Shearer, Van Nistelrooy, Henry, all these people. I think in targeted matches he's still good, but I wouldn't be holding him permanently. Gordon left wing, I think Gordon would have come on at left back as he came on for Festa, but they switch it around quite a lot. So Whelan came on for Greening, didn't he? So Whelan probably, where's Whelan gone? As he's only at forward centre. He could have gone right, but more likely he went up top and Rickard came to the right wing, which happens quite a lot. And then Gordon would have just come on at left back. Yes, Pep. So if Greening's out, that's probably more likely that Gordon will come back to left wing and Johnston will go to the right. That's what I would expect. But it's CM. So you never know. Fulham Spurs, this game, I mean, you would expect this to be like 7-8. Both teams can attack, neither team can defend. You go to the match stats and it probably could have been 7-8. Tottenham 12 shots on target, 19. Probably shouldn't have lost this one, although I had Fulham battering Tottenham in most of my sims. Obviously it's Fulham, right, so it just depends which ones turn up. Game was fairly even. on possession. And I mean, you apply these kind of shots on target to any other game, there'd be like 7 goals, at least 8. Yeah, Spurs, exactly, Nisi. Spurs just to get 1 goal from those 2 fixtures is ridiculous. I agree. The reason I went Rebrov was for this game mainly. I saw the other one as a bonus. And you look at this here and you think to yourself, what could have been? I mean, this is the damning thing actually. Rebrov injured 15 minutes. The guy had 3 shots and 1 on target in 15 minutes. He didn't do anything else, but you dread to think what he could have racked up in terms of shots if he was on the pitch. I mean, he had the same amount of shots as Slakovic in the game. Everson came on, obviously, in the 15th minute. He only had 2 shots. So we could have seen any number there. He could have got a hatful, which is thoroughly depressing. We'll find out about that, Annie, in a minute, about Rebrov, how long he's out for. We'll go through team by team and click that. But yeah, maybe it's me just because obviously I've got him. I'm a little bit biased, but those stats tell me there. I feel like I was vindicated at least picking him, but what can you do? Fulham were their usual selves. Lots of 9s and 8s here at home for their defenders. Gomer, even though they can't defend, they still managed to do well in the key attributes. Boa Morte turned in a decent performance, playing up top, which doesn't happen all that often. Malbronk just seems to be really good when he plays this role here. Scored again, and then Stolzers, who I've also got, gets injured in the 86th minute, which was annoying to say the least. I think he's quite popular though, so affected a vast majority of people. Saha not playing again after the last one. He's just continually not an option at the moment, is he? Unless this injury here changes anything. But yeah, not too much else to say. Leeds and Villa, and this is another game that made me fall off my chair. I think I had Villa win this once in my Sims, and I think they scored, I think the most I saw them score was maybe 2 goals. I can't remember now, but certainly not 4. You look here at the stats and we see 5 on target for Villa, 4 goals. So again, go back to that Spurs one, you're looking at 12 goals, is it? And 13 on target did they have? Madness. So they managed to score 4 from just those 5 on target. They were battered the entire game here, 64% to 36% possession. It was not a good day for Martin, and basically every shot they took just seemed to go in. Apart from that, I mean, it probably could have been a comfortable 3-0, 3-1 win for Leeds. This was a crazy week of... I mean, most of the time the sim data is pretty bang on that I do, I think, what it seems to represent. And there was a few games this week that were iffy, and this was one of them, which I certainly did not see was going to happen. We look at their stats, you can see that they didn't really even do anything. Juan Pablo Angel, he won 1 header out of 11. Balaban only 4. Virtually everyone in their team lost their exchanges. Boateng 12 tackles, he only actually won 3. No one did very well statistically. Barry's probably the highlight, and he got an 8, but nothing outstanding. This is just standard amounts here. So incredibly lucky, I think, Villa in this game to come out with 4 goals. As for Leeds, you know, Viduka was his usual self. 7 shots, only 3 on target, dominated in the air. Ferdinand was dominant as well. And obviously Baka had a great game, 4 key passes, 3 key headers. Not their day. Thank you. Yeah, like the stream. How do you say that name? Ronarid? Ronarid 9. It's not my YouTube though, so I don't get any benefit from it. You can like my YouTube as well. That would be very appreciative. Let's go Leicester Newcastle then. Leicester Newcastle, another one slightly iffy for me. Newcastle generally did pretty bad in this game. In my Sims, but they didn't care in this one. They did as they liked, and they've obviously got Big Al, who can at any point hog the majority of the goals, and no complaints. It's Alan Shearer, right? He can do this. Should have easily been 12 million. 8 shots on target for Leicester, only 2 goals. Again, 10 shots on target, only 3. It could have been more. Shearer actually had 5 shots on target. Luke definitely captain Shearer. I did not even own him. I wish I did. I really wish I did. But I can't complain. And Dyer playing on this right wing is obviously pretty damn good. I mean, look at those attributes. Pace, acceleration, flair. It's fantastic. I said before he should have been doing much better than he has been down here throughout the season with those attributes. I pronounced it correctly, thank you. I do have Heartbeat. I got him in this week. He was always planned to come in on wildcard. If it wasn't for that 20-point haul, I would have been okay not having him. But obviously, it hurt. How much is Dyer? I think he's 8 million. Pretty sure he's 8 million. Speed again did pretty good in the stats. The other thing I noticed actually here was that Dean Sturridge, who went off on the 67th minute, actually had 4 shots, 4 on target, an assist and a goal. So he's a little bit unlucky. He could have hit a 9 or 10 here and probably hit maybe another goal if he'd have stayed on the pitch. So he's not really going away yet, Sturridge. He's still value at 5.5. I think. I don't think I'd go there myself, but I think he's still value. Bassett, that's keep or sell. Again, it's a midfielder. Name me another one who's doing better. If you don't need the money, I don't see any reason to waste transfers on midfielders really. The likes of Wilcox, Wise, all these people are still decent. They're about the only ones who seem fairly consistent. Stoles as if he was fit. That's my thoughts anyway. Kieran Dyer. Right, where do we get to? Liverpool, Man United. Dabby Sass has an affair with Sir Bobby's wife. He's unhappy, man. He's a moody Greek apparently, so he's been banished, hasn't he? I don't know if he'll come back, to be honest. It doesn't seem like it at the moment. So Liverpool, Man U again here. Man United just 2 shots on target. They managed to score 1 goal from that, contrary to most of the other games we had this week. So Liverpool unlucky not to keep a clean sheet. Liverpool were wayward with their shooting, but probably should have won more comfortably. 60% to 40. Again, this was one on the Sims that went largely to it. Liverpool generally battered, well, not battered, but they'd comfortably win 1-0, 2-0, 2-1. And Man United didn't really put any sort of showing in. Obviously, the red card would have changed things. When you think that Liverpool got a penalty for their 1 goal and Man United had a red card, potentially it could have been different. But in the end, it kind of went along with the Sims. Hey Pillows Ben, thanks for tuning in, man. Heskey, really good for bonus at home. Craig Kemp's podcast, if you haven't heard it, you should certainly give it a listen. And it's why this man, he's not exactly prolific, but he can still end up being decent because of his bonus. And he can do okay for goals. So I'm surprised he hasn't scored that many, but he's pretty good. Oi Oi Irons, thanks for tuning in, mate. No probs yet, catch up. There's diamond stuff in there, of course. There's not. Gerard here, obviously very, very good in the tackles. 12, 8, 3 key. Probably unlucky not to get a little bit higher in the average rating. And for Man United, Van Nistelrooy, one of the poorest games you'll see from him. So usually when he's away from home, he's not... I mean, he is very good for most of the strikers, but when he's away to a good team, even he struggles. And it wasn't particularly pretty here. Obviously, he still could have got a goal because he had 3 shots. And that's it for that one. Blackburn, Ipswich. So Ipswich did pretty good in this. I had Blackburn down, I think 12 clean sheets out of 20 I had in my Sims for this, so I was expecting them to get close to a clean sheet. I know the goal came in the 87th minute, but going by these stats, 1 goal seems a fair reflection, possibly even more. And we all know how Blackburn set up at home, so they're usually a pretty good side away, and Ipswich decided to roll out their home formation, which is what they should have been doing in most of their away games that they've been playing, and as a result they still lost, but they actually did a lot better than they usually do when they roll out with the other formation. Blackburn are a really good side at home, so it wasn't to be expected that they win. I just wish they'd used this a lot of the other times. and it seemed to work from them really. Bonus-wise, Haridison still did pretty good if you see here. Won virtually everything he was involved in. He just didn't obviously have that much to do. So I think if he's been under a little bit more pressure, he probably could have come out a bonus on this one, despite being away. Oops. And Curtis and Weatherall absolutely dominant here in the air. I think I noticed here Weatherall got 12 interceptions as well here, which is crazy number. So how this guy got an 8, I'm not really sure. Should have been higher. I think he's a tasty pick really. He's under the radar. His attributes coming along nicely. Yeah, Tugai was pretty much irrelevant in this game. 1 key pass. He got an assist obviously, which will be the key pass. He had 1 shot, so he still could have got a whole FPL. Sorry, Champman FPL wise, but in the game he didn't seem to do much. Less Blackburn options for the double game week. I think it's got to be basically. I wouldn't even be looking at them, but if I was, Weatherall, Tugai, and probably Janssen are the only 3 I'd even consider. West Ham Chelsea. So 1-0 to Chelsea. Game wasn't that action packed. Chelsea probably just edged it. Had more possession. And yeah, Friedel, sorry, Jax was mentioned, who will be available for the double game week. You could go him because he's a keeper, right? So he'll get saves bonus if he doesn't get clean sheets. You would have thought. Pretty dire game. I don't think anyone's got hardly any assets here. The only things of note really for me: Repka utterly dominant at the back, lots of headers, and Canute did pretty well in the air. He's got this 19 for jumping. So Chelsea's centre-backs are obviously ridiculously good, but if anyone can challenge him, it's someone who's got a high jumping stat like that. So he actually did pretty good. So John Terry, who's been getting 8s for fun, even away from home, just came up against someone who's a little bit taller than him, than both of them. So they still did well, but kind of explains why they didn't churn out his normal 8. Only won 2 of his headers, so out of 6 there. No, Repka, I don't often see, I mean, anyone can do anything in any game, but I don't often see Repka leave in the first season. Curtis is still a good option, Joe, as well, I think. I don't think he's as good as Weatherall, but he is good. As you saw from this game here, he did just as well. Sunderland Bolton. Again, not going to spend too much time here. I don't think anyone had much, but the game was largely dreadful. Sunderland usually comfortable 1-2-0 winners in this game, occasionally 2-1. Had most of the possession, most of the shots, although not much happened. Probably the surprise was that Arca didn't do particularly well, didn't really win any headers. It's not really his game to win headers, but he usually gets lots of shots away for that off the ball the stat, and it didn't really happen in this game. Still got an 8 because he picked up the assist. And Arca, obviously it was at a 15-point haul, I think it was in the end. Again, he's just running past people for fun. So, decent all-round for Sunderland in the end with the result, but probably could have got more points for our players. Sibon really didn't do much at all. Because he was up against, where was he, on the right side? Yeah, so he was up against Colin Cooper, who got an 8, and Colin Cooper's been doing this most of the season. Craig saying is Warhurst an option, seen him play a few games up top. I suppose he could be. Anyone who goes up top's got a chance, right? And again, he's a midfielder, right? Or is he not a midfielder? I'm not even sure what position he is. I think he's a midfielder, and if he is, go nuts. Pick any midfielder you want. They're all shite. So Cooper about it, really. Pedersen did okay. Oh, he's a 4.5 defender, even better. I think defenders are quite an important position though, so you really are relying on... I don't think he gets bonus, right? No, so you are relying on those goals. Oldies are goldies. That's all right. CM loves its oldies. Newcastle and Arsenal, where Henry finally decided to get a goal for most of us as captain. Really wished he would do more in this game. But in truth, Arsenal battered Newcastle here. 10 shots on target. Did far better than they did in this game than they did home to Southampton. Didn't have that much of the ball. As you can see, Newcastle had most of it, but we're getting shots away for fun. And Big Al with a 6 at home is, you would have expected more from him, but he didn't win anything in the air really. Won one header, he had one shot. He was largely anonymous off the back of 2 hat-tricks back to back, but he wasn't up for this game. He was actually marshalled by Sol Campbell, I believe. Yeah. And Sol Campbell, 11 tackles, 10-1, 2 key. Won his headers even though the ball wasn't played in the air that much. Kind of beasted him. Oh, Alan, Jack says. I'm thankful for that though, because like I say, I didn't have him and I was terrified. 18 points is enough. You've had enough, guys. Omri, 5 shots, 2 on target. So possibly could have got more here. Didn't really do anything else. And ticking off, was that back-to-back man of the matches? I think it was. Yeah, Pep, there's ticking off stats. 2 goals, 2 assists, 3 man of the matches. He's not been great. He's got decent attributes. Yeah, Campbell's one of those guys who like when you look at him at the end of the season, you see that he's usually played like 30 to 33 games, and he drops out quite a bit. But this sim he hadn't dropped out hardly at all, if at all, I think. So the timing on the double game week is just fantasy football all over, right? You know, if it had happened 1 or 2 times already up to this point, I'd say, well, you know, he's a rotation risk, but it's just sod's law as usual. Kemp saying Henry scored more goals away from home than at home. Well, he's based, obviously, we know what Henry was like in real life. I know CM doesn't really mirror real life, but obviously the pace is a big part in that, I would suggest. There's not really much else to talk about there, is there? Ashley Cole pretty disappointing overall. Carl Court still remains an option at 7 million. He's been very, very good ever since Shearer come and joined him. Obviously not Matt Shearer with the hat-tricks, but he's done very, very well. And Steve Chettle, another goal. So potentially on penalties and can score. I don't want to say it is an option, but apparently he is, right? If he keeps playing at least. Okay, so that's not all the games because I've got one more, and that's Tottenham versus Liverpool. Tottenham were largely dreadful in this. Again, in the sims I did, Liverpool would often win this game quite comfortably, which I was surprised about, and this kind of went that way. Only 3 shots on target here. Liverpool again wayward in their shooting. Seems to be a consistent thing for them. Their shots are pretty awful. That's probably as a result of having Emil Heskey up front. But yeah, this kid played. I mean, I don't really know what they're thinking playing this guy. I mean, he's obviously very, very young, but he's got 16 for pace, acceleration. He's got the agility stat, which is good, high determination, dribbling, finishing. So he could end up being a decent player and like a fast-paced forward. But he's not. I wouldn't say he's quite ready for the Premier League. 6 anticipation, can't run onto through balls. He's off the ball 7, so he basically won't get any chances because he can't create space for them and he can't anticipate the pass coming to him. So. Not particularly good, and obviously terrible in the air as well, and in terrible strength, so it wasn't really going to work, and he got subbed off very, very quickly for Simon Davies, which we can only assume Selakovic either went up front or Sheringham went up front. Poor Armstrong, right? He's actually okay. I mean, he's not terrible. Should have got a game. So yeah, one of Selakovic or Sheringham would have been pushed up front. Still obviously didn't do anything. and Liverpool ended up getting the clean sheet. 50-50 of the play. Yeah, and there's Soles as well, Chris says. Good point. Gerrard was actually really, really good in this game, to be honest, with all those headers won. He got he got 2 key passes, he won lots of tackles, he won headers. I think these attributes are coming along nicely now. He's starting to win most of his exchanges in the middle of the park. So it's kind of like that Veron situation where his stats aren't as good as Veron's, nowhere near, but they're not too far off in quite a few areas. So you start to see this average rating probably coming along with him quite often now. Although the position that he plays isn't as good as Veron's position, obviously, because that's like an AMC position, and his position in midfield centre is not that good. If they actually played him as a DM right here, he'd get really high average ratings, but they're obviously not going to do that. And Hegem ended up making team of the week, I think, with his assist and clean sheet, despite only playing 1. Berg, yeah, early sub, 4 shots, 2 on target. That's kind of been his thing, right, to score goals. But Liverpool now they've got their full team back, right? You're going to see substitutions and stuff quite a lot, I would have thought. There's still good options. I think that's it. Before I go team to team, actually, I'm just going to show you the FA Cup results from the ties, from the third round replays. So these games have been played. I'm not sure if they have any knock-on effect. This is more for the fixtures guys, the Ben Krellins of the world, the Tala. They know this sort of thing. I'm not sure whether they do, but Ipswich beat Aston Villa 4-1. They decided to give Hariderson the day off. Apart from that, it's fairly close to their full team. I don't want to see too much here today. Villa played their full team, got battered. And Villa are out. Ipswich are through. For Derby, they won 1-0 against Wimbledon. They played Tonton, Zola, Makoku, and he scored a goal and got an 8. So these are his stats at the moment. Similar to Gardner's, I guess. Be lovely to see him start playing, but not been happening, has it? I don't think it will, sadly. So they're through as well. Right. Let's break down the teams. Let's go to the Premier League first. So fixture-wise, as you can see in the top left corner there, it's Saturday the 19th. So it's the morning of the games, of these games here. And these guys have got an extra day. So Middlesbrough, Charlton, Newcastle and West Ham have all got an extra day of recovery. So 7 to 8% on their condition you'd expect. You can add on top. And Monday is Chelsea and Arsenal. So 14 to 16% there. And then obviously we've got the double. Leeds play Blackburn on the Wednesday. So between Saturday and Wednesday, 1, 2, 3, 4, so 4 or 5 days recovery there. So you should be fine. So bear that in mind as we go through the teams. Shout out in the chat, guys, if there's anything in particular you want to see as I go through them. Perez injured. I can't remember which ones were done before. I'm just going to run through everyone. It's just easier I do that, right? So Perez is out for 10 days. I think he was already out. No one plays him. Adams is still out for a few days, but apparently even at 35 he can complete a whole match. Henry's at 97%. And everyone else looks good. Ashley Cole is 1 yellow away from a ban, which could affect people. I think he's pretty heavily owned now. It's a terrible average rating for Ashley Cole. Would expect more. So I think that's Arsenal. Let's move on to Villa. Hadji's still out for a month. Dublin, 2 weeks away. So you'd expect in about a week's time he'll probably go orange flag, unable to play. And Taylor's about a week with a hamstring. These guys, obviously not quite at 100%. Staunton is back, so you never know. He could feature. Now playing today, yeah. No other news when it comes to Villa. Don't think anyone's got them anyway. Lord. Not for me, I never owned the guy. Hate him. Giving all these people points at the beginning. Yeah, Merson's condition cannot be explained for any of his external activities that he may have been up to get to 83%. Who knows what he's been up to? He's just been sat at home in bed. Blackburn, Bell, 17. He's not going to play. We've got Kelly, who's obviously suspended for 3 games. So that means that we expect Brad Friedel to come in. I'd love Ginola to catch a spot. He did well when he came on, right? And he usually does get picked at left wing. He just hasn't been. So until we see it consistently happen, I can't say he'll become it because it doesn't pick on performance. So let's just go back to Villa. Who have they been playing on the left wing? I can't even remember who it is off the top of my head. It's not Stones. He plays the other side. It's Hendry, isn't it? Hendry gets pretty good in the game, but he's not really a left winger. He's more of a centre midfielder. Ginola is far better on the left wing. But whilst Hendry's there, I don't think you can rely on him to start playing. That's the problem. Grayson is 2-match ban for a red card. I think that's Blackburn. Oh yeah, Hughes is back now. The ledge. Move on to Bolton. And you'll notice that Mr. Gardner is 100%. So he's been getting bigged up a lot by FPL tactician Andy. He's lacking match practice. Liverpool at home. Is it his time to shine? I guess we'll have to find out, right? Because I expect he should come straight back in. Southall's out for a week with a twisted knee. And Rod Wallace is a few days with a broken toe. Obviously 90%, so he could play. But yeah, the headline there is very much that Gardner is back and available. I don't think their fixtures are particularly good. They're really not, but clean sheets aren't really a thing, are they? So you could argue who cares. Let's go to Charlton. So Charlton, he doesn't play. Don't need to worry about him. These are the guys under 100. Wilcox, my man, is at 100. No one else is out. Middlesbrough away is a very, very tough game there. But yeah, let's move on. Chelsea. Good lad, 2 weeks. No one cares. Dalabona, 3 weeks. Nobody cares. Di Matteo, a month. Jukanovic, a few days with a facial injury. Everyone else at 100%. John Terry has a 1-game ban. Yes, Kemp, they've got a transfer arranged. Probably at the end of their contract for people whose contracts will run out, like Bosman's were a thing in this game. Jimmy's still pissed off. Evening, Luke Porteous. I think Charlton are okay, Pep. I think in difficult games, especially away from home, they'll just get a standard 5s and get battered. Melchiot's pretty annoyed. He wants a new contract and thinks the position of their team's not good enough, which I kind of agree with him. At 17th. Shocking. Terry's suspended for this one, I believe. Yeah, he's defended for this game right now. Arsenal at home in 2 days. So you'd expect maybe Melchiot will play centre-back. But they've got a number of options. Gallas could obviously play there. Ferreira could play there. Who knows? Let's go to Derby. You could argue it's decent for Omri because Terry's good, but I say the backup, if it's Gallas or anyone like that, it won't make too much of a difference. Arsenal are generally dreadful away from home against a good team, at least on reputation. We'll have a look at that in a bit, but I'm not hopeful for anything from Omri, I'm afraid. Derby, quite a few people under 100% here, but most of these are the guys who played in that cup replay. Christie's on 93. A few people have got him, I think. So that's one to look out for. And Aranio's now out for 2 months. If it wasn't already. I don't think he was. When did he get it? Yeah, he actually picked it up in the replay. So that's a new injury. Everyone else is okay. Everton. Hasselbank won't move anywhere in the Prem, I wouldn't have thought. Yeah, Adam says abroad, I agree. I rarely see him go anywhere in the Prem. Sometimes goes Celtic, could happen. But just about anyone goes Celtic. They raid the Premier League. Hardcore. Everton, again, not going to spend too much time here. No one's really got anyone from them, have they? Weir still wants a new contract. Most of the main names are at 100%. Duncan Ferguson's still 3 months away. That's the only thing of relevance. Let's move on. Fulham. So yeah, here's the man Stolz's, owned by quite a lot. He's out for 10 days. Which is highly annoying because he's red. So 10 days takes to the 29th. So he'll miss Southampton. You would have thought miss Newcastle, but could be orange flagged and therefore play that game and runs that gauntlet. And then he should be back. He should be back for this game here against Sunderland away. So potentially only misses one. We just have to hope they don't play him orange flagged in this Newcastle game and he gets injured again, which is always a possibility, isn't it? McAllister, 2 weeks still. These guys don't play, so I don't even know why I'm clicking them. Wadado's 86%. That's probably notable. I don't think many people have got him, but could be getting an early sub. And Coleman's still a month away. Marley thinks the club is underachieving. Malbronk's been annoyed for a while. Boa Morti's 1 card away from being banned. Pep says worth benching Stolz's. I mean, I agree. You could argue if Wilcox had a really good game or something, you could maybe make a switch, but it seems very, very knee-jerky. Stolz's is pretty much a season-long hold for me, so I'll be keeping him. I mean, I've got both, but some people won't have that. Van der Star's ban. Let me click Van der Sar. It starts on the 23rd of Jan. So he'll miss... Does it count for FA Cup? I never know this. I can never remember. If it does, then he'll miss Newcastle, Sunderland, Bolton. If not, it's Sunderland, Bolton, Man United. Craig says, just played wildcard, don't think I can get 11. I've got 3 people potentially out as well, which is just ridiculous, isn't it? I mean, the sub-keeper at the moment, Pep, the guy who was on the bench for their last game was this guy, Crowdson. who's obviously shocking. So it could be him. Hanneman has actually played in the league. He came on and conceded 4 goals, played a 5 with his 11 handling. He's also shocking. So it's one of these two you would have thought. And they're both absolutely terrible. So yeah, it's one to note. Fulham obviously give up a lot of shots as well. Ipswich, and there's some big injury news here really. I know not many people have too many of them anymore, but both their wing backs have been struck. Tarico again, I think he's been injured already, definitely once, possibly twice this season. He's out for 2 weeks with strained knee ligaments, so he will not be playing. Also, Jamie Clapham, who's probably been doing even better than Tarico of late, and on pens usually, is out for 10 days. So they're struggling. So you would expect they're going to have this terrible Carrick guy play the left wing back role in his absence, and probably Jermaine Wright will play, who he already did in that FA Cup replay, in the right wing back role. Who can do okay there, but obviously not the best. So pens will be up for grabs. Hariderson is a name who can get pens, so I wouldn't be surprised if you saw him take him. There's literally loads. Stewart can take them. There's so many names for Ipswich. There's not even a point me listing them. If you guys look, I mean, Tarico sometimes takes them, for example. He's not there. I've had Bramble take them. It's not even worth guessing. All I know is that Hariderson is fairly prominent, so don't rule it out. Ash asking who's on pens already. Yeah, see, I preempted you. Jermaine Wright takes them as well, actually. There's too many names to mention. There's no way you can know for sure who will take them, is the bottom line. Who are they actually playing? Oh yeah, they're Derby at home. So Hariderson, I mean, if people have got him, they're going to be playing him at home to Derby anyway, right? So if you get a pen in that, you're absolutely laughing. Leeds. So Bowyer's 48%, out for a month for torn groin still. Decor 2 weeks away, and Bridges is 10 days away. Everyone else who matters is on good condition. Keane is 1 game away from being banned. So it's kind of annoying actually, right? Oh no, because if they get the ban, it takes 2 weeks still before it kicks in, right? So he couldn't get it in the first game of the double and then miss the second. I keep thinking that'll be the case, but it's not. Who drops out when Bowyer returns? I mean, assuming Bowyer comes straight in, because Bowyer himself was never fully nailed, but he usually plays the vast majority. I mean, it's usually McPhail, so they usually have Kuehl here, who's pretty much absent. They have Decor here. They have Bowyer here. And then they have McPhail here, but then sometimes the middle two kind of change with Bakker, Batty, you name it. Bakker will sometimes go to the right. Bowyer will then come into the centre. The usual mainstay is Kuehl here, which just hasn't been the case. So I wouldn't want to predict what Leeds are going to do there, because there's nothing wrong with this guy. I don't really understand too well why he's not playing him. I think Scala just said that he's one of the because he's one of the highest rep players, they've just decided to bench him in games when, I mean, the thing is, Villa aren't even that high rep, like low rep, sorry. They're pretty high. They were, I think they start at 14 if I remember rightly. Probably come down a bit, but it's still a stretch as to why he's not playing. No Pep, I've not really seen it. I think when I ran Kuehl through my calculations and tests at the beginning of the season, he was playing, 35 a season, usually around there, 30, 33, 34 sometimes. I mean, I could go out on a limb and say he'll play every game from now to the end of the season, and I wouldn't be surprised, because that's what my stats tell me. So it could easily happen that he plays every game from now. It could also obviously continue where he just keeps getting rep 12'd essentially. Not that they're even a 12 side. Let's move on. Leicester. Dean Sturridge is a few days away with a bruised shin, 90%. He came off injured in the last game. He could easily play on that percentage and should be back. if he misses this game, he should be back for Middlesbrough at home, assuming he doesn't re-injure himself. None of these guys are nailed, so there's no point me even clicking them. Everyone else is pretty good. Flowers is on 93. Wise is good. They're all good. Liverpool. Dum dum dum. The ever reliable Igor Bishkan. 10 days, stub toe. Crossed off the list. So if your bench was struggling already, like mine is, you can add another one to the list. Bolton away, well, not the greatest game in the world, but it's nice to have his name in the picture, right? Dang. Another one down, Craig says. Brutal injuries for Adam. Stolces and Biscan. We've all got the same players, guys. That's the only way you can look at it. I mean, there's probably a pool of like 20 to 25 players. Like, that's probably being generous that everyone's got. So those injuries have affected a lot of us. Gerrard's 98%, Smeets is 98%, Owen is 10 days away. Owen can do okay. He's got good attributes in certain areas. He's terrible, obviously, in the air, which this game is heavily geared towards for strikers. But he can still do pretty good. I don't think he's worth the money compared to the other guys. But if you're trying to be different, it could still work. He still can get goals. It's just with Liverpool, they seem to be pretty much more spread out. I don't think he's anywhere near. I don't think he's anything on Shearer or Viduka, put it that way. But if it's in the interest of just being different, it could easily work. We sold Stolces and Biscan. This is Vinyl Richie. Is he? I think you're number 2 in the world. No, Adam's number 2 in the world now. Definitely top 10 anyway. And he bought in a load of crap though. No, it's midfield, right? Everyone's crap. Man United, Ryan Giggs, 10 days, thigh strain, injured against Liverpool. We've got Silvestre, is still a few days away, 90%. He doesn't care about flags though. Yeah, it's not a thing for him. Dropped to 5th. Still pretty good. I'll bite your hand off. Yeah, Owen is overpriced, I think. Pete says he needs Van Nistelrooy McPhail to break a leg. Yeah, okay, fair enough. To mix it up. Murray Head. This guy's got crazy intrinsic values in certain areas. Yeah, Sylvester don't care about flags. Meh, he's not worried about that. Beckham's 1 yellow away from a ban. Blanc is 1 away from a ban. Do I expect Sylvester to start? I mean, he could. They've got backup, but he's played at least 1, possibly 2 games now. Yeah, 2 games at 90% and orange. So yeah, I expect him to start. The hunt goes on for York. Will he get there? He's got to have one. In fact, my tip for the week, Dwight York, home to Leeds. You'll see why in a little bit. This man is getting his return this week. I want everyone, if he gets a return at home to Leeds this week, I want everyone to at me on the goal and call me the absolute soothsayer. It's happening. Book it in. If he starts. He might not even play. Middlesbrough greening 2 weeks. As I said before, this is quite significant really, not because many people have him, but because of what it means for the rest of the team. So Middlesbrough get to hang on a little while, I think, because he is the key to a lot of their players and where they play. I also think greening is an option, by the way, when he's fit and playing now. You can see here, goals and assists is not great, but it's a midfielder, right? So it's not that bad either. And he will interchange and go up front like Johnston was when he's on the right. So he will get goals. Paul Ince is 1 yellow away from a ban. Hugo is still here. As you can see, Celtic have obviously put the bid in. Arsenal are still interested, and Man United are interested in. He's also 1 match away from... Oh, 1 match... he's already got a ban. Starting on the 26th. So he could miss the FA Cup game if it applies to there, which I think it does. But he might not even be at the team at Middlesbrough by then, right? No worries, Andy. I got this. So yeah, let's move on from Middlesbrough. No, I think Vesta will play virtually every game. Newcastle. Quite a few on low percent here. Not all of them first teamers, obviously. Solano's 2 weeks away. Robert is 2 weeks away. These guys are obviously over under 100% here. Bernard 89%. Davies, that's 94%. Shearer's 100. Dyer's 100. Which your main men you're thinking of, I'm assuming. As is Basidas. So Newcastle are good. No, Craig, you got away with the Shearer one. I don't have Shearer, so that wouldn't have happened. Come on now. I don't get that lucky. Chel's ban. That's a very good point. Let me go back. 3-match ban starts on the 23rd of Jan. Heskibo, hello. So Fulham, does it apply for the FA Cup, guys? I think it does, but tell me in the chat in case I'm talking rubbish. I don't think you'd be wanting to play him away to Arsenal. Home to Charlton is kind of a bummer if you've got him. You'd want him to play that one, right? He should be back after that. It does apply, thank you. Southampton. I know you've got loads of these guys in your teams. Everyone who we would consider would play is available. Marston is injured for 2 weeks with a groin. Let's move on. Sunderland. Take a deep breath, guys. Team of the week. A moment's silence, please, for Julio Arca. But he is orange. So he's out for a week with a strained neck. That must be putting the rest of the Sunderland team on his back. So there is a chance he doesn't feature. And Andy is right to pick out that Gray is out for 3 months with a red injury. So they are really struggling on the left side of the pitch now. The other fact you can add to that is that Bart Williams is out for 2 weeks, and he often can fill in on the left wing. He's like a utility player. So he can't even go there now. Vargas 10 days with a strained neck as well. I don't know what you weren't carrying anyone, mate. Get out of here, faking it. Sullivan is out for a few days with a broken toe. He could also feature. So considering there are all those players down, they might play Arca now. That would be my worry, that they'll just play him, even injured, which you probably don't want, because then he can get injured. The other guy, other keen eyes amongst you might have spotted something. I'm going to leave it right here. See if you can spot something, because Sunderland have made a signing. Andy Martin saying get Gardner in now. Straight swap. I can see that. Pierre Issa, well done. Fili YM2, the South African, signed for 3.9 million from Watford. They've been absolutely gutted. All their players have been signed, I think. Wants to impress his new manager. Centre back, I think he's 4.5 million. They've priced him up as. He's got a very high marking stat, which is good, but he's not got any pace whatsoever. His jumping's pretty good. Strength's okay. Aggression's pretty high, which is good for tackles usually. Bravery's not as high as I'd like. Determination's pretty low. So he's okay. He could do well in the air basically, and do okay for average rating as a result. But I don't think it'd be a touch on Tome. Tome's just too good with this bravery and aggression. 20 and 17. You'd imagine it'd be him and Tome at centre back. Yeah, I would have thought so. You could even argue now McCartney could go to left back. That could happen. You got Butler, who can play on the left. He can actually get okay in the game sometimes, and he's on the subs bench here, so you'd have to throw his name in the hat as potentially playing on the left. I don't think they'll play Kilban. He just seems to be dead to them, but you never know. Yeah, I think Issa will come in anyway because he's better than their other centre backs. Pep, regardless of him being a new signing, he's better than McCartney. So I'd expect to see him. Tottenham. Keller's at 100%. Janelle can't believe he's been dropped. And here's the main one, guys. Rebrov is no longer injured, but he's at 63%, which I'm pretty sure means he's not starting. So when I've done my tests before, 70% seems to be the cut-off where it will play players. I mean, he's not even 100% nail player anyway. They do have options, so you wouldn't even say he would definitely start above 70. But being below 70, I'd basically fall off my chair if he started, which I'm absolutely gutted about because I bought Rebrov in for these 3 games and he's obviously now injured after 15 minutes after having 3 shots and then potentially misses the 3 plum games. So to go with all the other injuries this week is another headache I didn't want. I'm sure there's a lot of other people with me on that one. Anderson's out for 10 days with a broken toe. Dean Richards is still out for 2 months. Poirier is 1 day away. He played already, yeah he did. So he has to get through this 1 game if he starts, and he should be okay. Ledley King's actually 1 game away from a ban. Who will play up front, did someone say? Well, I imagine it will be Everson. Potentially Slakovic could play up front with him. You could see Sheringham go up front. You could see obviously this kid play again, or Armstrong or Ferdinand. There's a whole host of options, but you'd expect Everson is pretty much nailed. Doherty's still got a little bit of time, a month with a broken, so it won't be him. I wouldn't have thought. Look, Rebrov could play, guys. I've not seen it. I mean, I won't be taking that risk. They have got a serious lack of options up front. The fact that they're going with Rushbury. I mean, they haven't got lack of options, but seemingly the game thinks they have because they're not playing these guys. So we'll have to see. But I mean, Everson's pretty much nailed. It's all good. Rushbury will stick in. Yeah, we already went through him, Andy, beforehand. Some woeful stats there. Yeah, Leonardson's at 86%. So obviously Anderson is out. Scala's saying Leonardson could potentially miss out because he's low condition. And therefore you could see Slakovic right wing back. It's always a chance. I probably think he'll play Leonardson there, but you never know. Oh yeah, exactly. If Rebrov was somehow magically did play the game, which I can't see, then I'd be very surprised if he makes it the full length without being substituted. It would come down to whether they had options on the bench. So pretty gutting for Rebrov. Even more so when I show you the sims for the next few games in a second. Right, West Ham. Again, we're not going to spend too much time here. Nobody has got them right. Everyone who matters is virtually near or over 100%. Hislop's on 89%. Doesn't always play and go anyway. Izzy Iripin's out for 10 days with a thigh strain. Joe Cole is 1 yellow away from a ban. And I think that is it. Let me just check if I've missed any more transfer news, guys, because I was flying through it. They provide me with an email. Just checking the injuries as well. I think I've got all the injuries. That's good. Okay, so some other transfer news. The only other things are little things that no one really cares about. So Andy Marshall's gone to Wrexham on loan. Mark Swartz has gone to Rotherham on loan. And Jay Corbett has gone to Cardiff on loan. So no one's got any of those guys anyway, in case we missed them. Yes, I just mentioned it there, Andy. Perfect timing. So Swartz has gone on loan. So I know you were one of the people who thought Crossley could drop out at any point. So I suppose it is relevant in that regard. It nails Crossley more of anything. Someone wants to let me look at Hippier quickly. Okay, I can do, Mo. 1 match ban starting on the 26th. 5 yellows. You are correct. So that will just be for the FA Cup game, right? Perfect. If King gets a yellow, who will play? I mean, they could throw Doherty in there injured, I suppose, but you've got all these guys who could play. Well, anyone who's got defender, it will be Thatcher, basically. He would be the one that will play, almost certainly, but they could play any of these kids. I mean, they're loaned these two, ridiculously. So, yeah, it'll be Thatcher. Yeah, let's do the table and stuff quickly, and then we'll do the preview for next week. So, here's the full table at the moment. Man United now 3 points ahead. Normal service has resumed. West Ham and Southampton are basically relegated. Can't see them coming back from that deficit. And Leicester in the bottom 3, joint with was that 1, 2, 3 other teams. We'll do home away. Middlesbrough still the best side at home at the moment. 26 goals, 8 conceded. West Ham dreadful at home. Yeah, the relegation fight's really, really good in this game at the moment. Away from home, Man United are now comfortably the best. Arsenal doing okay as well. Southampton 0 wins, 3 draws, 8 losses. Some of these guys away from home. 30 goals conceded West Ham, 30 Derby, 26 Southampton, 28 for Charlton away from home. Leicester 28. Conceding a lot of goals at home. Fulham 20 goals conceded at home. Obviously a lot of those have been hat-tricks. 22 for Spurs at home, 27 for Southampton at home. Player stats. Feel free to take this in, guys. I'm going to specifically look at midfielders because I've been asked to by Craig Kemp for a pod he wants to do, so we'll quickly look at that. That's average rating of all players. Here's attackers. Here's midfielders. Useless bunch of... And here's defenders for average rating. And goalkeepers doesn't matter for that. But yeah, for midfielders, I'm just going to scroll so Kemp can at least get this for his pod. Scroll a little bit. Hopefully you can tell us who we should have in midfield, because yeah, apart from the names already mentioned at the beginning of the stream, it's pretty much a minefield, isn't it? Goals for midfielders. and assists for midfielders. I shall show you the Championship table, yeah. These are the best dribblers, the best tacklers for midfielders, and there's man of the match. And penalties for mids, there you go. Let's go to the Championship table. Watford, despite losing half their players, are still doing pretty well. Man City and Wolves in the playoffs. Palace and Grimsby potentially down. Dorico's near the top of midfielders list, just about sums it up. Yeah, as is Arca. Job security, Andy is asking. Let's have a look at that. There's no Premier League teams on it. There are no Premier League teams on it. So, double game week. I'll bring you some odds. Let's see if this works. So yeah, just averages, guys. This is I've tried to get all the players the same as what we knew. I didn't know the injuries until today, so the injuries up until this point. So the only one I adjusted for is I made sure that Rebrov wasn't in my Sims because I didn't think he would be available for this game. I just assumed the worst, that he'd be injured. Turns out he potentially could play, but it looks like he won't. So apart from that, obviously Fulham have got Stolzers in these Sims, for example, so everything we knew up until about yesterday. These are only averages, so when we look at these here, you're looking Blackburn actually do fairly good against Villa. It's fairly close though on goals, like anything could really happen in this match. A few clean sheets here, so if you're going for a double player in Blackburn, potentially your Weatherall could do okay comparatively compared to some of these guys. Bolton and Liverpool very, very close. Liverpool, you're probably not getting a clean sheet. You could do. Could go either way there as well. There was no standout. Same can be said for Everton and Leicester. In fact, 6 draws. Everton generally win the game if it's not a draw. Goals fairly close. So some very, very tight games here. It could go any way. Ipswich and Derby, 8 clean sheets is fairly high. You're going to be playing your Ipswich defenders anyway, right? And they're obviously almost double the amount of goals that Derby score. So Ipswich defender could be okay, as we know. Wouldn't expect too many goals in that game either. I mean, for CM, these are fairly low, so you can expect 2-2s, 1-1, stuff like that. So this is the next part of the game week. As you can see here, Man United home to Leeds, 2.6 goals on average, 9 clean sheets, 14 wins. That's a battering. You don't get usually this high that often. Leeds won twice in my Sims. Obviously anything can happen. A few times they scored, they scored 3 here and it was a draw. But no, Van Nistelrooy could be very, very risky. And like I said, Dwight York, this is his time to shine if he plays. It's a good game for him. This reminds me of when I had Liverpool at home to Leeds and was saying that Liverpool could batter Leeds here and Heskey was going to do the bits and then he got injured. No, he didn't get injured. Someone got a red card within 2 minutes and they subbed Heskey off. Exactly, Kemp. Van Nistelrooy against Rio is, yeah, if that happens then I think he could do well. Southampton, Fulham. Southampton held their own here. They did okay. Fulham are not that bad away. As you can see, the goals are fit. Like you could expect 2-2 could be a thing. Again, not many clean sheets about. Game went either way. You can't really call that one. Tottenham, Sunderland. This is another reason why I'm so annoyed about the Rebrov thing. Look at this. Tottenham are obviously terrible. There's all the same players. Remember, as much as I can, as close as I can get. and with no Rebrov, and they were 2.35. So you'd have thought with Rebrov it might even have been slightly higher. So it's just so annoying. 16 wins, only 1 for Sunderland. So Tottenham look pretty heavy favourites there. 1 or 2 goal for Sunderland most of the time. You'd expect, Phillips would be involved in that if they scored. They haven't got Arca. Oh, they might have Arca, but he's half injured. Middlesbrough at home to Charlton is obviously a very, very good game. 10 clean sheets here, I think, is the best I've shown you so far. So, despite Charlton being very, very good, it looks a pretty good game for a clean sheet for Middlesbrough. Yeah, Salakovic captain, Pep saying, I don't disagree, that could be a good shout. Obviously gets those extra points for a goal being a midfielder. I think it's an option. Doesn't get bonus though, so the worry is if he doesn't score, then you're probably getting nothing. And this is the final part. So Newcastle, and again, this was part of the reason why I did Rebrov over Shearer over the 3. They didn't do that well for goals at home to West Ham, not as good as I'd have thought, but you can still see here lots of 2s, 3s, 4s, 2s, and if they're scoring goals, who's going to be involved? We all know. We all know who's going to be involved in that one, right? The surprising one really was 11 clean sheets. I didn't really expect that, so if you've got a Newcastle defender, I would definitely be starting him. You were probably going to anyway, right? But it's nice to see that. So really, this week, I think a defence of, a Newcastle defender, Hariderson, and you're going to play Hart because he's got a double, right? He's not going to get a clean sheet against Middlesbrough, you wouldn't have thought, but it's looking good for this one as well. So the cheaper defenders are going to do well this week, at least on the sim data it suggests. Chelsea-Arsenal was a dreadful game. So as you can see here, this is the lowest amount of goals for both teams. They both managed 8 clean sheets each, which I don't think I've ever seen. There were 7 draws, the highest I've ever seen. And the goals are so close. There's one sneaky 5-0 in here, so knowing our sim, we'll probably get that one right. But the rest of the time, it's literally 0-0, 1-0, 2-0, 2-1. And Henry was largely dreadful in them. If Arsenal did score, obviously it's Henry, he could be involved, but I've got him and I'm not holding my breath. I mean, that is pretty much damning, considering the version of Henry we seem to have as well. So I think, those of you who've got a free swap, I would say Henry to Van Nistelrooy is probably the best move this week. If you've got that. The thing is, I've got about 4 injuries, so I don't know if I can even do it, which is ridiculous. But I might have to. And Leeds home to Blackburn, as you can see here, they actually got 11 clean sheets as good, but when Blackburn scored, they generally didn't score 1. They scored 2 in this one. They scored 1 here, then look, 2, 3, 2, 1, 2. So if they get a goal, they probably can get another one. But otherwise, it's looking like a fairly comfortable. So you could argue Ian Hart as captain, maybe. We probably won't get a clean sheet in the first one, but in the second one, he's looking pretty good, and he was involved in goals and assists all throughout this, as you'd expect. I still think Viduka's the better pick, but if you're chasing, you never know. Yeah, it's not that bad for Arsenal defence. Obviously, if you've got Seaman, you've got a chance of playing him. Or Henry to York. I'm tempted, Pep. Heskibo saying Leeds rotation against Blackburn possible. I don't think it is. I don't think, outside of the Kuhl, who seems to be the one that they go to if they do, I don't think there will be. It could happen, but there's not that big a difference between Leeds and Blackburn in rep as there is for other teams, and there's enough days for their condition to get back. They can get well over 20% back and only lose around 20% in the game. So I don't think he'll be... he could be. It doesn't matter, we're all in the same boat, right? I think everyone's going to be picking a Leeds captain regardless of what I say. So yeah, Arsenal double clean sheet, that could happen, I suppose. Right, the only other thing that Dave wanted me to mention, guys, and despite a lot of these injuries affecting popular players, and obviously that Henry slight issue there, and the Rebrov issue, is that a lot of teams have got League Cup and FA Cup games coming up. So what happens here is, you can see we've got this week now, and then a lot of teams have got the FA Cup followed by a League Cup game. So they'll actually play another 2 times before we get to see them in game week 25, is it? So ideally, you'd want to be saving a transfer this week because we know how this game goes on for injuries, suspensions. The more matches you play, the more chances you've got of things going wrong. So I expect the next stream after this one will have obviously not only the news of fixtures and stuff as a result of FA Cup games, but could have a whole host of injuries. A lot of teams have got 1 or 2 games. There's some coming up. Obviously that's the double, isn't it? So Leeds have got the double and then those 2 games. So we're going to have to do well to avoid injury. No problem, Renard. I share them most weeks in the end. Sometimes they help. Sometimes they make you pick Red Rob over Shearer. Yeah, save a transfer, you're having a laugh, says Ryan. I very much feel you on that. I'm struggling. I think I've got 11 players just, and that involves playing like Taggart away and Hippier away and people that I don't want to play. Wilcox away to Middlesbrough. And that's after my transfer, sorry, if I take out Rebrov. And I did my wild card last week. Says it all. Do they prioritise the FA Cup game over the Prem? No, they don't prioritise. They generally, because the FA Cup's got high rep, like the league, it's got 15 for its reputation, whereas the Premier League's got 20. Most of the teams will play close to their full strength side most of the time. Obviously, the team that they're playing can come into it, but if it's a fairly evenly matched team, then they'll play full strength. Right, I think that's it, guys. Is there anything else you want to see before I switch it off? I think I've covered everything. Shout now or forever hold your peace. Which game week does it? I'm not sure on that, but the transfer window closes in March. It might be the end of March even. So you've got ages yet. What time are the double game week on Thursday? Oh, you mean in real life? I'm not actually sure on that. They'll obviously play the game, or I'm assuming they're playing them Wednesday, but because they're trying to avoid Premier League where they can, it might be Thursday for this game. We'll have to wait for the tweets on that. Rene watch, I shall quickly do that for you. $42 yellows in 17. Yeah, sorry Jack, I'm not sure. You'll have to wait for the tweets, mate. Not sure myself even. Right, catch you later, guys. Thanks a lot for that. Go sort out your teams because I'm sure they're an absolute mess like mine are. I'll catch you on the next one, guys. Much love.